Hi everybody, it's Allison from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, coming to you from my very busy but inspiring art table. And on the table I have today's date in my 2024 Artist Almanac calendar, a collage fodder resource and daily calendar. As I had mentioned in my other videos, you can follow this group on Facebook. They have a Facebook page and I don't know much about them. I know a little bit about the artist that I had purchased this from, who is just wonderful. She teaches a lot of classes, I think online and maybe in person. She's from Edmonton, Alberta, Christine Karpiak. And so she is sort of my contact for how I got this little calendar. And there's just some information on the Facebook group about all of the other contributing artists. And I haven't had time to look, but that's sort of your resource contact if you're wondering more about this 2024 Artist Almanac. And so today is Thursday, March 14th, and this is a really neat textured piece. I really like the composition, and I love moons in my work. I see all these circles and find this to be very appealing. But for me, I need color. So this is a gorgeous piece in itself. But for me, if I was to, want to paint something or put something on my wall, it would need more color. I just need more color in my life. I need more color today, that's for sure. So what I want to do is paint rainbows with you all today, and I was just going to flip through. This is a journal. I really, really love the quality of this journal. It's by Speedball, and it's called the Handbook Journal by Speedball Art Products. And what I had done, I started this in June of last summer, 2023. And I was incorporating writing and colors I loved, marks I loved, and really put my heart into these pages, was trying to do it every day. And of course that never gets continued just because life happens. And I am not being hard on myself. I'm giving myself the grace to know that I will go back to this art journal and finish it. And I don't care if it's out of order. The younger me would have felt like, oh, it's going to be out of order and it's not complete. Do I really want to go back and finish it? Or I would just probably have abandoned it when I was younger. But now that I'm more mature and very confident in art and knowing how important art is in my life, these are just pages where I was cleaning off my brush. And well, here I cleaned off my brush, but then I just wanted to put a whole bunch of writing that I needed to do. This was on March 6th of this year. I just needed to write. So I put down my kind of mind map and just some notes for myself. This was when I was testing out beam paints. So art journals can be anything. These are little watercolor explorations. I really love this one. I can't wait to do mark making over top. That fluorescent red just is so vibrant. So these are just, again, color craving layouts, watercolor backgrounds that I plan to go over top with mixed media supplies. And the possibilities are endless. So it's just so exciting. And I can see I was playing with acrylic inks there. And the reason I wanted to show you is so funny. Okay, back to rainbows, because already I'm going in a different direction, a new direction. I really have been enjoying painting rainbows on days where I just feel like I need color, I need joy, I need to get those serotonin and dopamine levels up in my brain. And so I just quickly grabbed this journal to show you these rainbows. So we're going to do watercolor rainbows, but we're probably going to incorporate acrylic paint and maybe collage into them. And if you know me, I might go in a very different direction. Just going to see if I zoom you in. I think I'm going to zoom you back out. It looks like you can that's probably a good angle. I'm just going to tilt my camera a little bit. And if you're painting along with me today, I'm going to be working out of my probably, unless again I pull out something different, because I often do that. But my Canson mixed media 11 by 14 98-pound paper journal. Ideally 140 is the best with watercolor, because it just, those cotton fibers hold the watercolor and it doesn't crinkle up as much. It doesn't get too wet, and there's less need to flatten it out if you are going to flatten out your final piece. This is just going to be an exercise in relaxation today and play, so I'll probably stick with the 98 pounds and we'll just see how that goes. So here is my journal, and for those of you that have followed me before, you know that this journal is becoming well loved. I was doing a lot of watercolor botanicals with permanent fine pen with slightly thicker Posca pen. I was loving the jelly roll pens with these neons, and just sort of playing around with what I considered my style of a botanical that relaxed me as I put down the brush. And I left the pages blank on the back side, so if I decide to cut these out, I can do so. Those ones aren't quite finished. Playing with different shapes. So if you're one of my regular subscribers, you'll have seen this book probably in my last 3 videos, which is atypical for me. I often have brand new content, brand new art to show you, but I'm really trying to fill up my journals and get a lot of use out of them and almost pick up where I had left off. So usually my watercolor warm up, or in the evening if I just need to relax, I would put down watercolor as my base and let it dry, put down colors I love and shapes, and just really get lost in the process. And then the next day, the next month, the next year, whenever I felt like going back to a page that called my name. So for instance, today I love this bright kind of rusty red with the shimmer. I would go back and I would finish this, and I may put it into a painting. I may cut it out, may put it on a card. I might find a little frame to frame it. So just these little explorations can turn into finished pieces. I had done a really funny video, some very whimsical watercolor houses with you all yesterday, or sorry, I think 2 days ago, and this is just ready to go back with mark making over top. My houses look more like little mushroom fairy houses, and again, they're not complete, but it was just a fun exercise just to see sort of how to get down certain shapes and how the colors moved around. And so I'm gonna do rainbows, and we're gonna open up to a fresh page. I'm just gonna make sure you can see me in here. You can grab any kind of watercolors if you have acrylic paints. I hope to maybe incorporate acrylic paints. I have these Derwent water-soluble Inktense pencils, which I don't use much in my work, and I will probably try and play with those a bit today, as well as just other water-soluble pencil crayons. I really love the Super Color Soft by Caran d'Ache, the Swiss company, and this is the company that makes those Neocolor Caran d'Ache water soluble and wax crayons, the number 1s and 2s. This is an example of their crayons. Really, really amazing products. And this is just the type of water soluble pencil I have, but you can use any water soluble pencil. I also love these really chunky Stabilo wooden water-soluble crayons. They're awesome. They're probably great for rainbows. They're quite thick. And I'm just gonna get out my pencil sharpener for those. So while I do that, I'll leave you with my book of today that I want to read an excerpt out of. Okay, I cleaned my art studio and I can't find my pencil sharpeners. That's so funny. Whenever I clean my studio, because it gets to be a disaster, it just happens. I don't know how. It just, like, I'll clean it and then within a couple days it's like I can hardly get into my studio, but I don't know where I put my pencil crayons. That's so funny. I'm gonna just bring you down a little bit. Sorry, I bumped you with my foot. I'm gonna just get you a little bit closer here. I'm sorry for making you dizzy. I think that's probably okay. And a book that I have introduced in the last few videos is How to Be More Tree, Essential Life Lessons for Perennial Happiness, illustrated by Angie Davidson. And I haven't gone through this book other than with you all on video. What I love to do is I like to think of it as a deck of cards that I am shuffling to kind of offer me inspiration, insight. So I'm closing my eyes and I'm just gonna pick, whoa, this very, very widely rooted tree. So I'm just gonna read this off to you. So it says, a little bit jittery today, so this is page 54. Follow your own path. And this tree is called a banyan tree. I never know if I'm pronouncing these right. So just a heads up on that, but banyan, B-A-N-Y-A-N. There's usually more than one route to success, and we don't all have to follow the same path. The weird and wonderful banyan is a giant with the biggest crown of any tree. But it doesn't even start life in the ground. The seed of this enterprising maverick grows as an epiphyte in the cleft of another tree, grabbing water and nutrients from its surrounding. Once it gets going, it lowers some roots to the ground straight from its branches. There really is more than one way to be a tree. So I'm really tired today. Sometimes when I'm tired, I read the words, but it just doesn't register. I don't know if any of you have felt like that, but sometimes I just get like a brain fog. I didn't sleep well last night, so I am just gonna be honest. I read these words, but I kind of zeroed in on just the first sentence in terms of having insights about what I had read. So you'll probably have some deeper insights than me, but usually there's more than one route to success, so not following the same path. And I think this just is so important to me in my art practice, my art business, is when you are starting out, even if you are doing art as, say, art therapy, if you're doing it for purposes of relaxation, or maybe you're learning to do art so you can eventually teach or educate others, or maybe you want to get in a gallery or have a full-on art business. Maybe you're happy just, selling your work here and there, but you're not worried about, for me, I think of the gallery example because, okay, well, first I'm just going to go back for a second. What I really want to zero in with this is we all define success differently. And it's so important in our society. There's so much judgment placed on us for everything and our pathway and how we get there and how we're doing it. And really all that matters is deep down knowing what is the definition of success to you. So for me, if I was to be completely honest, when I'm honest with myself, I define success as showing up as often as I can. So I try not to have that pressure on myself, but showing up, most days and not putting judgment on myself and just exploring art and playing and kind of, just keeping my mind open to the fact that for me, success is just showing up, even if it's for 10 minutes a day. It's like, if I am out of an exercise routine, which I have been for a long time, I consider it so successful if I just get on my runners and say my exercise pants on a certain day. Maybe I don't necessarily do much more than 5 minutes with my runners on. It might just be parking a little farther from the craft store, the art store, as an example. And I feel like just measuring success, and it's sort of like that page that I had read a couple days ago about, or I think I had pulled an Oracle deck card that said celebrate small successes. So I get a lot of, I guess it would be unsolicited advice, which I never mind. I just kind of tune it out. I decide I'll listen to it and I'll, kind of take it in, but I often just let it go unless it's something I feel like speaks to me deeply. As artists, I think, so defining our success. So if someone asks me right now, are you selling your work in a gallery? And I say, no. I almost want to say back to them, but I have sold my work in a gallery. I was with a gallery that closed in 2020, but it's like that pressured need to tell the other person I got in a gallery because I know that they're probably measuring my success. And again, this is totally, subjective. Like, I don't know what they're thinking, but my response, just because of societal expectations, is, yes, I have had my work in a gallery. Like, I am important. My art is good enough that people want to buy it. People will pay a lot. And, the gallery owners want my work. So those thoughts have come into my head. Or when I sit down and paint, if I know that I've been selling, say, my mountain pieces, so those pieces that have the mountains on them because I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and I know that my collections will sell out, and I've been so grateful for that. But when I sit down on, say, like a day like today, and I'm like, I just really I want to paint mountains because I know I can sell them, that is like almost fulfilling. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not doing art honestly for myself, because I'm just trying to paint to sell. And I lose the authenticity in the painting itself because I'm trying too hard to measure the success of being able to sell a particular work of a particular style where I feel like I'm a bit more maybe robotic in, and I don't enjoy as much, and I lose my artist why. And that is because the definition of success, I think, from other people that we place on ourselves is different. So, wow, I'm really like going off on a really long spiel here. But like just today, what is your definition of success? Is it being able to recover from foot surgery and enjoy just, maybe you're usually a very active person and you're laid up with, a broken foot or recovery, maybe you have a chronic illness. Is success just being able to find inspiration by, hopping on your computer and learning about a new artist or watching a video? Or is it to do a layer of, say, watercolors so eventually you can go back to it? Do you measure success by all those little steps that you're doing? For myself, I know that back to galleries, I know that galleries need artists more than artists need galleries right now. I've taken a lot of business courses, and in 2020, I started to just sell my work straight off of Instagram. I didn't even have a website, and I was selling locally, and it was amazing. And I learned that you don't need to pay a commission to somebody else to show your work when you can be the manager of your own art practice. Your art is still valuable and worthy and wanted, desired, even if it's not in some fancy gallery where people want you to put like a crazy high price tag on it to take a commission. And I'm sorry if some of you might be gallery owners if you're listening to this, but this is just, again, my thoughts, my opinion. For myself, I don't define my success anymore as to if I've been in a gallery. I don't define success from selling my paintings or how many I sell, or I'm totally changing my definition of success because I know that each day is precious. And if I just sit down and paint for myself and say inspire one other person from maybe this video, that is success to me. So if you could all just think about, what is your definition of success right now, today? What would you consider, you feel good about yourself and proud of yourself? I know a couple days ago when we just went over those old paintings that were sitting around, well, for me, it's in these big art drawers, and I have a lot of them, and they're unfinished, and they're just sitting there. And a couple days ago, we went back and we went over top and we created something new. And maybe they're not finished paintings, but there's something to work with. And actually, I can show you right now. So some of those paintings, I have started this canvas. It's wild right now. It's going to be a landscape, but let me just see if I can zoom you out. So, I get distracted. We're supposed to be painting rainbows. This is just a canvas, and I had taken slices of those old paintings, so you can see, if you watch that video where I was just using my old grocery plastic card as a scraper and scraped paint over top, this is what has come out. And I tore up layers and I added some polka dot tissue paper, and I'm gonna create this beautiful landscape. But this is taking something and making it new again. So that to me is super successful. And I felt really good about my day because I had probably gone over maybe 5 to 10 unfinished works, and I put solid colors on them. I made discoveries of something new, and I loved that, and I consider that successful. I consider being able to call myself an artist successful because I know so many of us have that imposter syndrome. I know that I had it initially. And just calling yourself an artist is successful because as humans, it's hard for us to do that. There's so much that comes with, say, calling yourself an artist. And really, you just need to believe deep down, no matter what you do, no matter how often you paint, whether you sell your work or not, whether you've been with a gallery or not, it doesn't matter. If you make art and you create art and you are an artist, and owning that is successful. Gosh, okay, I just feel like I've been talking so much, but that went off totally on the banyan tree. But I think we all start in different places. The fact, follow your own path. I've been in healthcare since I was 18. I started in health records. I didn't have the grades from high school to go straight into university, into nursing. And I had to upgrade, and it was really hard. I had to go to summer school. I was not good in math or social studies. Really, my grades were just not great. I scraped by. I finished high school, which was awesome, but I had to do this upgrading. I went into nursing, and, because I loved nursing at the time, I got incredible grades. I was so lucky because I loved what I was doing. And then this pathway, I gave it all up in 2020 because my passion now is art and it fits my lifestyle. And I consider that successful, being able to, I went through a lot of judgment where people were like, you know, we need nurses right now. We need you, you know, how can you just give up your practice? And for me, it was not a hard decision because I made it for myself, and it's been a better decision for me and my family. And I consider myself a successful artist now. And anyways, just following your own path, you know yourself. You know, if you have that instinct, don't worry about what anyone else thinks or that unsolicited advice that we all get. You know, you can hear it, listen to it, but knowing deep down what is right for you is what's right. Okay, rainbows. Oh, I don't edit my videos, and if I did, I would probably want to edit that spiel out of here because I think I'm, again, confident in my art, but very self-conscious sometimes about the way I present myself. And I'm learning to be more confident on video because that's just sort of an entirely different ball game. So I have my paper, and I'm going to be using a round brush, but you can use any kind of a brush. I just have these Princeton flat brushes. I like them. They're synthetic brushes. They're really well made. But any brush, I mean, if you have Crayola watercolor brushes, these are great too for what we're doing. I use these with my son all the time. You can tell it's well loved. I use these for acrylic inks because my watercolor brushes will get ruined if I don't. And I'm just gonna activate my watercolors. I use this little palette. It's just a cheap palette I bought at HomeSense here in Calgary, Alberta. I don't know if you all have HomeSense in the US or in other countries, but you can find some very affordable art supplies there anyways. And I'm gonna be just using a variety of watercolor today. My ocean palette from the Ocean Paper. I'm gonna be using my Stone Ground Paint Co. gouache probably. I love variety, and today I just need that. I'm using lighter paper, which isn't as good, so having a slightly higher quality watercolor is helpful. Or you can use more affordable watercolors on better paper, so investing in 140-pound, you know, affordable paper. I think you can even get those at the dollar store now. So this is my Mozart Kohlrabi palette from Japan. It has the neons, which I really like. I did a video where I swatched these out. And then again, this is sort of a mix, but it's mostly the Stone Ground Paint Co. from Saskatchewan, their watercolors and their gouache. And they sell these, I know, all over North America and maybe some other countries now, but they're a Canadian company, which is wonderful. I was born and raised here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, so I like to support local companies, Canadian companies, especially if they're good. And I also love beam paints, but I don't have my palette handy. I think I was using that in the other room. So I probably will switch to better paper just for the purpose of the video, but we'll just do a little watercolor warm up on this first. And I'm gonna use my number 12 round brush. And I don't want you to feel like you have to paint bright. Just right now, what color are you craving? What just feels right to you in the moment? And I gravitate towards, this is my my watercolor from the Ukraine called Rosa. I bought one color, this really gorgeous coral, that coral color. So Rosa Gallery, R-O-S-A Gallery from the Ukraine is this color. And it's very much like gouache. And now that is kind of like a horseshoe more than a rainbow, but I don't care. And I'm just gonna put that color I'm just going to use the paint that's on my brush and put it in a few places and not overthink it. I'm just going to make these what I feel are kind of chunky rainbows. And I'm going to play with bright colors. So I'm going to add in, this looks like a quinacridone magenta of some kind. Oh, no, it's actually a violet. So I'm just going to kind of point my watercolor brush down. This is just what's comfortable. I'm right-handed. I have a bit of an essential tremor, which is kind of cool because you can see the way just that light shaking actually makes the rainbow really much more interesting. And I probably would recommend spacing these out a bit more than I'm doing. And then I'm gonna just go with what color am I craving next, and putting a generous amount of paint and water on my brush, and kind of going up from the other side if you want. And I thought what we could do is add little clouds underneath with acrylic paint at some point. I'm gonna just repeat that green maybe in the middle here. And watercolor is wonderful when it's layered, so you could just do a couple layers of what looks like a rainbow and then let it dry and go back to it. Whoops, and I got quite a bit of water droplets on my page, and that really looks neat because it almost looks like rain. I just felt like adding that orange, and I'm going to add that orange in here and let it mix with that green color. And again, just not overthinking it at all. This is a really great time to practice the concept of brights. So I just pulled out a red, and then maybe something that you wouldn't really think of. So I don't often use browns in my work, but I know they're a really great neutral. So I'm gonna see if I can actually find a brown on my palette. There is one here. It's kind of like a reddish brown, and I'm gonna put that on, and it just makes it, to me, so much more appealing. The red looks so good next to a neutral, and it makes it stand out more instead of using, say, red and orange together. I think what I like to think about when I do my art poetry watercolor paintings is I add neutrals next to the brights. Oh, overboard. Don't know what that was, but I'm not gonna go get it because I just don't feel like it. I'm gonna look for a painting just to kind of give you an example. Okay, well this is a good example. So this is my art poetry card where it said accept the meaning in darkness. And I suppose, you know, maybe this isn't the best example. There's not a lot of brights, but I used like a brighter yellow and some beautiful pinks, but then I have the dark Payne's gray, the navy, next to more of a light gray, which is a neutral, and then this is very neutral. This probably wasn't the best example, so I'll show you. Okay, this one's actually kind of cool. Prioritize your mental health. My husband and I laugh at that after. We're like, that was kind of not a stupid thing, but just not a very, it's not the best wording on this card, but that's okay. This painting is called On the Interior, Let's Thrive. And so before I talk about brights and neutrals, I want to talk about this card. So I painted this in 2021, but we are under lockdown here in Calgary, and I was just painting for myself, and it just reminded me a little bit about the earth, our world, and for some reason, like interior spaces with like potted plants and even like these crocheted pot holders. And I just painted this with such cabin fever, and it gave me so much joy to get these colors and marks on my page. And I had meant I titled it On the Interior, Let's Thrive, because I meant while we're under lockdown in our home, let's create a beautiful environment. Let's create a space where you love to be, but also on the interior of our minds, our, let's thrive on the inside. And through that, I thrive best on my interior, so my mental health inside, through creativity. So I titled this On the Interior, Let's Thrive, because I was thinking both your physical environment and also your, mental health, your internal dialogue environment, and how creativity makes me thrive even under lockdown. When we were washing our groceries, and I think I had a 2.5-year-old at the time, it was busy. But that's what I thought about with this, is prioritize your mental health. Make time for your art, even if it's 10 minutes. Put on those running shoes, even if it's just putting them on, putting them out where you can see them. Even if you don't use them, go for a walk or whatever, just getting them on is the start. Oh yeah, but the whole point of that was to show you my brights mixed with neutrals. So you can see I have bright pink, bright blue, that cerulean blue, lime green, bright yellow. This is so many brights, but the painting, to my mind, when I look at it, is appealing because I've added all of these neutrals. So this beige or Titan buff, this sort of pinky neutral here, more of this grayish brown. I like metallics. Often those can be kind of a good neutral, but also a beautiful highlight in your work. Gray is a great neutral, white, black. But that's an example of how this could have been a very like rainbow-itis kind of card, and it just has the beauty of brights mixed with the neutrals. So that is what I was thinking about. I don't know if that helped. But with our rainbows, not being afraid to add kind of colors. Like I often teach color, put in a color that you're just craving. But right now I'm going to use this dark brown, and the dark brown just brings something new to the bright colors in this rainbow, and I like it more. It's more appealing to me. This is kind of a neutral already. I'm just gonna go over it with a yellow. And because these are drying, that's awesome, because you can see the transparency of overlap. And I don't really even know if these look like rainbows. They're like my birds. They're really chubby, chunky rainbows. But this whole practice, what we're doing right now, if you're painting along with me, it's just about relaxation. It's, about learning how comfortable you are with the brush that you're using. It's not getting stuck in any kind of, you must do this, you should do this. A rainbow should have, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, brown, black. My son and I were doing that yesterday. And just getting out of that, just knowing that you can have your own color palette for a rainbow. And creating beauty in the unexpected colors. I just had a moment there where I really appreciated the quiet, the silence right now in my home. And part of my artist why, so with that art poetry deck, this painting that I had chosen for the cover of the card, so each card has my art on one side. You can see in here, black was the neutral in this particular card. find your community and share stories. That's what I feel like I'm doing today. I have found you all, and I'm so grateful for that. But all that black is neutral mixed in with those gorgeous brights. Those are my chubby birds. And this painting is titled, this one, is it, I had two very similar, buds in bouquets, meaning like flower buds, but also bird buds, like friends. So I love plays on words, buds and bouquets, and I'm tired today. It might have been the other painting, I can't recall. But anyway, back to, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, this painting. You can see I have the word quiet on there. And when I painted this intuitively, it's basically watercolor with mixed media mark making over top. I felt the way I do now, which is when I'm painting, my world is quiet. I am at a place where somebody that naturally has anxiety, you know, I hide it really well. I consider myself a high functioning, high anxiety person. You know, when I've told my friends that I deal with anxiety, they're like, what? No. But the reason I paint is to find quiet in a world that can be heavy. It can be extremely busy. And kind of valuing white space as quiet in my mind, as, you know, silence in a conversation. I love to think of that now as like breathing space, that space that we all need to appreciate more. You know, because we all have like those bells and whistles on our devices, and we're all very controlled by time. So I think with art, I actually didn't set my timer today, and I felt like I just didn't want to be controlled by time. And right now, I think this is a really ugly rainbow, but the purpose, my reasoning for painting it is right now I'm just out of my, how do you say, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just talking to you all and choosing colors and going with it. So, and the fun thing when you're working on like multiple works at a time, so whether it's multiple works on paper or canvas or panel, or multiple images on a sheet, like what we're doing right now, you can see how I'm kind of jumping around between them. I can even, you know, take, you know, this drippy brown here and add this fuchsia cloud. I can then maybe do a lighter version of the fuchsia cloud over here, and maybe drop in some unexpected like neons just on the one side, not on both. So for my art, I love surprise, unexpected. I think I'll add a bit more, another dark rainbow kind of coming up here. And again, I recommend you spacing your rainbows out more, just because it gives you more opportunity if you want to cut them out, or, you know, just giving you that space to work. I want to show you how I can incorporate acrylic paint. So my Stay Wet palette, unfortunately the lid wasn't on securely and a lot of this started to dry, but I'm trying to revive the paint that hasn't already dried on here. But what I'm going to do today is just add in some acrylic onto these rainbows on the bottom. And I also thought it would be fun to add maybe some collage clouds. So I have these little pieces. This is like my handwriting you know, just maybe gluing this on underneath somewhere or in between, adding, you know, more neutrals with black and white, different patterns. And so right now I'm going to switch to my round acrylic paintbrush, just a basic round, very affordable brush. And I'm going to see what paint, quite a bit of this paint is drying. I'm going to just get this chunky iridescent copper because I love this color. And we don't want to waste it, so just going to add that acrylic on here. And maybe, you know, maybe adding in the acrylic right here over the watercolor. That gives it a bit of a shimmer. And instead of wasting what's on my brush, I'm gonna just start a new painting. And I might grab my art journal, this handmade art journal that I was working on, and grabbing just a page and maybe deciding, I suppose I could add in bronze on here. I think I'll do that. So I'm gonna just set this aside for a second. I'm gonna let those rainbows dry a bit, and I'm gonna dip into this bronze, which is becoming more, it's losing its shimmer because some of the opaque acrylic paints kind of mixed in with it. And I'm just gonna kind of go around this floral with the bronze. And I'm asking myself if I like what I'm doing. I don't love it yet, but I just like that I'm using up paint, and I'm adding some interest to this journal page. And ideally my paintbrush would be a bit thinner. And I'm kind of carving out the image, which is sort of like some people I think call reductionistic painting. And I don't know if I'll do the whole thing. I think I'll probably stop there. So this is using up paint on my palette that's gonna probably just dry out, and finding a way to get it down on and make a piece that I was working on new. So even though it's in my art journal, I just didn't really like, I don't really like how I added in that pink pencil. So maybe I will just go a bit more of that light pink and then just go over top of this here. Oh, and that's really interesting. So that's a discovery. See the texture that I'm getting with that highlighter pencil under it? You can kind of etch into it. I'll take my skewer. Oh, and that is super cool. That's really bright. So again, that's just a discovery. And you know how we're talking about how we measure success, I would say today it was successful doing rainbows with you all because I'm relaxed and I feel like I've given myself some dopamine and serotonin and feel-good hormones. And I discovered something I really like where I was etching in over top of that highlighter pencil. So they're called text liners, and I don't think they're meant for art, but they're by Faber-Castell, an art brand. And yeah, that's just one I had bought individually at Kensington Art Supply. I don't know if they still sell them there. I think they may have discontinued them here in Calgary at that particular art store, Kensington Art Supply. But they're called text liners by Faber-Castell, and they have really cool neon colors. So something about the way that came out, kind of neat. And then talking about etching, just to maybe add interest, I feel like maybe just gonna add a bit of interest with etching in and seeing what other color might come in. And yeah, okay, so back to our rainbows. And maybe I'll grab this is a piece of paper that I'm going to use just to clean off my paintbrush. So this motion provides energy and cleans my brush. So this will be a great piece of paper to do another work on at some point in time. So what I do is I don't dip my brush in the water. I just wet it and then right on the paper. If you have an absorbent paper, that works better, but I just get out the acrylic paint as best as I can and while cleaning my brush. Okay, and now I can probably dip it into my water and I feel better about my environment. I'll let it dry. I'll let those toxic plastic particles from the acrylic paint dry on my paper and then reuse this at a later date. And then I'm just gonna, my water is really dirty anyway, but that's watercolor dirt. I think I'm loving watercolor more than acrylic painting just because of toxicity and mess. I still like to flip back and forth, but, and then this palette, so trying to figure out, okay, what's dry? That's just starting to dry. Yeah, I've lost quite a bit of this. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm already sidetracking from our rainbows, but we can go back to those. I'm going to get a black piece of paper. And let's just see, I have an art journal here that I bought a long time ago by Ranger. I think that's a Tim Holtz mixed media product. I'd have to double check that. And I'm gonna grab, you can just see, let's see in here. Some of these pages are coming out. This is quite funny. This is when I was doing stenciling with gesso, playing with washi tape. Now this was when I first started painting. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is like, wow, 2015. So I started, I would call it like commercial art journaling. So, you know, a lot of this is, you know, it's artists, mixed media artists that have licensed their work and use it in stickers. These are stickers, washi tape, and I got my dog Oakley, who's my best friend. That looks like Oakley. And I had written on here October 26th of 2015. I forgot that I had done this. So this is a little art journal page when I first started on black paper. And then some stenciling and just play. So that's just, again, pages I cut out in collage. You can see how beginner, how basic, how I didn't have a lot of confidence to finish paintings at this time. I would sort of start playing around, but I didn't finish them. This is a really neat background. And what I'm gonna do is grab my gloves and show you how I like to, especially with black paper and bright paint, I like to just basically blot the colors. I'm gonna push down fairly hard. I'd wet the paint before doing this, and I think it's really quite dry, but I'm probably gonna pick up some bronze, some greens, some pinks, and just not to lose that paint. You can always use it, you can cut up the palette and use it for paint skins as well. wow, that's kind of wild. But this will be great when it dries for collage, for petals, etc. That's pretty amazing. So I'm just gonna set that aside. Oh, I just stepped in my watercolor. Good move. Oh, good move. Okay, here we go. Take off my sock. And I'm still not, like, I like this, it's interesting, but I feel like it still has a lot of paint. I'm gonna take, that one's kind of cute, stenciling. I'm just gonna take that and go back and now blot off of this page. So I suppose this is like, you know, I see people doing the jelly printing, the mono printing. This is like, I guess, printing on paper from a wet palette. And you're like, wow, that's a mess. This is actually interesting though. I like this one better. I feel like it has so much interest, and this could be a really great little painting, or like cutting out these as petals. Like, check out that texture. So, you know, not worry if you have dried acrylic paint, you can salvage it. And again, keeping these old paintings that we started, you know, let's just see which one we want to do. We'll do another one here. Here I was practicing. So before I was Alison Durant, I was Alison McGregor, Scottish last name, M-A-C, capital G-R-E-G-O-R, and my friends from school would call me Ally Mac. And so when I first decided I wanted to, I suppose, start social media and be called an artist, I called myself Art by Ally Mac, and everybody on Instagram really knew me as Ally Mac. And when I would meet people and they're like, oh, I follow you on Instagram, and they would call me Ally, I would have a little laugh to myself because I had no idea I would really, I think, build a following. I didn't think I would really sell my work. I didn't think I would start an art business. And my only, I wouldn't say it's a regret, but if you're just starting out, I would say use your own name as an artist. If you think you want to take it far or farther, you know, I wish I had started with Alison McGregor, well, before I got married, and then Alison Durant, you know, because changing my name, it took a long time to be recognized as Alison Durant instead of Art by Ally Mac. Okay, I really, really like this. This is super cool. So this is a great little base for like a landscape painting or something. Really, the colors are gorgeous. And then you can see here, again, I can smudge more if I want. So taking the palette and just creating something new. So again, I am measuring my success today. I'm just gonna actually push down and I'm gonna stop because I like this area. I don't wanna lose it. So I'm just gonna add more paint over here. And like, just like that is so gorgeous. That would be an amazing artist trading card with, of course, a little bit more over top, but that looks like a beautiful flower. And let me just see. I kind of want more of that red to cover up that little bird. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're just using up some paint. I'll let those dry. And experimenting with paint on black paper. I actually, in this little journal I had made, this, I don't even know what it's called. I don't think I did it as per the instructions. It's sort of falling apart here. Oh, I just realized that's still wet, but I have a black page in here that I wanted to use. I just can't seem to find it now. Where did it go? Oh, there it is on the back. Because this is drying, this bronze page, I'm going to go in with this black page and just get some interest. Okay, and there wasn't a ton of paint left, but when I go back to this little art journal page, I'll remember my video with you all, I'll remember the day, and that's a really beautiful spot right here. Okay, so this palette did not go to waste. When it dries, I'm going to cut it out and have little pieces of collage and create a new work. This would be great on black paper because it is so bright. And so we'll just set that aside. I really like actually that line through here where I had the edge of the paper. Again, it's just something really interesting, unexpected, and quite beautiful. So I'm going to take off my gloves because that was messy, and we'll go back to our rainbows. And I'm going to grab a glue stick. This is a nice, just a nice basic, the Yoo-Hoo stick. It's made in Germany. It's very high quality. And for what we're doing, I'm just going to use that instead of like matte medium or an art gel. So I have some different collage papers. This is from a little art magazine. These are from loot bags. I love those polka dots. So this is my son's loot bags. And just going to tear off a little bit. And even just putting that's pretty big, but you know, just putting that down here. And maybe, I love doing marks on paper bags, so maybe making another cloud. You can make it a little bit more like an interesting shape. And then just deciding, you know, where you want to put it. Again, if I'd left more space, I'd have more options here, but that's okay. This is a really bright scrap of paper. And yeah, it's a little bit big. So what I'll do is I'll just put this one on down here. I just want to rip that a little bit more. And I think this would be cool on a really large canvas, is some huge rainbows in different mediums with maybe collage and some line work, kind of drawing the eye up or down. And this one I can just put over on the side here. So, you know, if you have any old books, some thin pages, just grabbing a glue stick, and I like tearing the papers more than I like the cut edge, the straight edge. I know some artists love the straight edge next to more organic painterly shapes. And I really, really just want a bright color down here. So I see my glue stick is actually almost run out. Just gonna get the glue off my finger here. Never fails. I'm like, I'll just do a little glue. I won't get it on my hands. And I end up, especially with matte medium, I get myself in quite a mess, even though I don't think I intend to. Okay, so I'm just gonna see if I can zoom you in. And we are going to just add maybe some color down in this area. I'm gonna go with that like fluorescent orange kind of pink watercolor from my Mozart Kohlrabi set. And I'm gonna touch into that wet dark green and pull it down just for interest. If I don't like it, I can dab it up, but I do like it. And I'm gonna go over this paper, whether or not it sticks or stays, I'm not sure. And that, again, it's just kind of unexpected. I like the dark mixed with that fluorescent orange, and I'm gonna just put it up here and make that cloud a little bit bigger. And then just take you back out. So when you feel like you've kind of added, say, acrylic paint, or if you're happy with, you know, what you've done, you can do mark making over top when these dry. I'm gonna add, I'm just thinking what color, something maybe like a really nice light phthalo green. I'm gonna use my stone ground paint gouache. Just put that in here. I kind of like how these rainbows, whoops, there's that orange because it wasn't dry, and I like that. That's okay. That's sort of a happy accident. I wasn't intending for that phthalo, the orange, to kind of go in there, but I'm okay with that. And then I'm gonna add maybe a bright red right in this area here. Oh, skewer overboard. These art tables just aren't big enough, are they? Always need more space when you're a creative, right? It's just the way my brain is. The more spaced out, more creative ideas. Okay. If you're looking at one of your rainbows and you just feel like it's not calling to you, consider adding your favorite color. So my favorite color was that coral kind of gouache, and I just feel like this one could be a little brighter in here. I'm just gonna go back over top, and then I'm gonna leave the coral on my brush and maybe go into like a light orange, my orange, I think it's called Pyrrole Gouache from Stone Ground Paint Co., and going over top and just making it more appealing to me. I'm not worried about whether or not it would appeal to anyone else. I only want to do this because it's appealing to me. So thinking about that always when you're creating. Woo, that was a happy accident. Check out all of that yellow rain. You can just add a bit more. And I'm gonna add in that yellow here and let it blend with this rainbow. And I might go right over top this paper and just see if some of it absorbs. And add in more of a bright yellow down here. Yellow is such a joyful color, you know, the hue that we see with sunlight, and just seeing certain colors, your brain can light up. I really, really want to add this black. I think that would be super cool with all these rainbows. And I just don't have enough space, so I'll have to do rainbows again. I love the writing, just kind of loose writing. I was journaling, but I didn't really want to make it super legible. I just blended it all together. That would be really good around these rainbows. This I was cleaning off my brush with my gold alcohol ink, so that would be really great to have as you know, it almost looks like little brush clouds, just the texture in there. It's quite textured. And, you know, just adding that in somewhere where I have space. I could always add a rainbow kind of coming off the side or overlapping another one. I think that would be kind of cool. Although I do like that bloom. I don't know if I want to cover up that bloom. So yeah, maybe I'm okay with covering it up. So I might just add that in there for the element of surprise. I'm not trying to make this a finished page, but because I painted these so close together, my intention was when I cut them out, I'll kind of be able to have that space, but you know, I can maybe keep some of that bloom in there. And so it's just like having no expectations when you sit down to create. You know, like today, my intention was to create rainbows, watercolor, and adding in acrylic and collage, but look at how far and sort of how much variety we have without trying to say, you know, like if I thought about this exercise, say yesterday, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna plan to do a YouTube video where we paint rainbows and I'll show them how to cut them out and use them in collage, I wouldn't have come out with this interesting page, and I would be very structured. Everything would probably be, you know, I think you and I both would feel like we have rules to follow, that if I had planned this out versus just doing an unedited video, which I like to do with you all, we would have a very, very different outcome. And I'm really loving this particular outcome. And I'm going to add in that blue that's sort of down here. And I don't know if I like that now that I added it. I feel like it's quite dark, so I could, you know, take my paper towel and give it some texture and blot it up. I like the texture that it's left there. And maybe I could just do a little bit over here. And I'm not really liking that either as much, but it's not so much about loving it, it's just about the practice of learning what I like and kind of how to navigate and explore what would I do to like it better. So I feel like I need to balance those dark clouds by adding a dark brown maybe over top of this rainbow, this chubby rainbow. And so, and that I like better. I like how the drips are kind of bleeding into the brown. And I forgot, but one thing I want to do with you all, I better put my lid on my glue stick, my yoo-hoo stick. It's like, yoo-hoo, put the lid on, calling you. So I want to do line work in here as well as use my water soluble. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you could see me. Oh, I think I might have been off screen. My apologies. Let's just bring you back down a little bit. So I had basically, if you missed what I was doing, I put too much turquoise watercolor here, but then I repeated it here to balance it. And then I added this dark brown, which bled into these little yellow drips, which just kind of happened. And I know that I want to do pencil lines. I'm just loving pencil lately. I'm not sure if it's because my preschooler is doing a lot with pencil. Right now, I want to put in lines, but I feel like I'm going to smudge things. So just before I do that, I want to do a little bit of work with my Stabilo woodies. So, you know, once you have this base, you can do a section with polka dots, you can do a section with stripes, you can add flowers, the possibilities are endless. When this dries, you can go over top with any of your supplies and really just let loose and have fun. I want to try using my Stabilos. I couldn't find my pencil sharpener, but you know, maybe kind of loosely adding that kind of loose cloud. Do I like it? Not really. I was just sort of trying it on. So what I can do, I have really muddy water, but I can, because it's water soluble, I can kind of get rid of it. I think if I had done it with a different color, I would have liked it more. So there, it's sort of still there, but that's okay. It doesn't bug me as much as when I first did it. I would probably now go to maybe add in like red. Do I want to add? Yeah, I want to add red in here. And maybe just starting with like just this red line. And again, not caring if it's like symmetric. And then going in with maybe an orange. Or sorry, this is like more of a peach. And not caring if it's symmetric. I really want to add white now. So do I have, yes, I do have a white Stabilo Woody. And maybe going from this direction in here and making it a little bit thicker. And I'm liking that more. I find it interesting. I kind of want to add some of that like line work with this pink one just to experiment. So I made it a little less bubbly. I'm not sure if I like that one up there, so just lighten it up a bit. And I kind of want to add this beautiful like apple green. This is a really nice color. Let's just see. It needs to be sharpened, but adding it in, that looks really beautiful. Adding it in here. So repeating what you love, I might just add it in up here. And it's going over top of the watercolor really nicely because it's water soluble. And if I want to activate it, you know, to turn into watercolor, I can. But I don't think I'm going to. I just love how that green just brought things out. And maybe going over top, right over top of this. Do I want to go? No, I don't want to go over top of the cloud. I'm going to add just a smaller purple line. And by using a similar art supply, but different, how do you say? By using it differently, by just putting these on, you can smudge them with your finger. You can, right now we're not activating them, so we're not using them with water. We're just putting them over top of pretty much dried watercolor. Another fun thing to do is use if you have these gelatos, I love these because they're almost like ready to go in like a rainbow format. So if I'm doing rainbows with my son, I just love to be able to do this because it's just a little bit easier if somebody doesn't have the dexterity. So these are by Faber-Castell, the same company that did those neon text liners. And they're called gelatos. They're like a lipstick for an artist. And they're probably not like considered, you know, what do you call, like the highest quality, light, fast, archival product. But I love using them in art journal and play. And there's different ways you can kind of use them. I'm going to add in, oh, here's like kind of a olive green. I might just put that, where do I want to put it? Maybe down here. And over top of that Stabilo Woody. So if I was painting with my son, actually my water is really dirty, so I'm just going to dip into my spray bottle and show you down here, we can just turn it into a rainbow that easy. If somebody doesn't have the dexterity to do, well, I guess we're still doing that motion, right? Just gonna add in that color right in here. And just, you know, exploring supplies that you may have sitting around. I know supplies aren't accessible to everybody. You know, if you have a pencil sitting around and you have a more affordable travel watercolor set, some companies will do little mini sets or imperfect sets. I know Beam paints, they're probably still expensive, but they have sets they consider imperfect that they wouldn't sell at the full price. And, you know, even again, dollar store Crayola paints are great if you have heavier paper. And it's even if you don't have heavier paper, again, thinking about it like just the practice, you know, what is your definition of success today? My husband's cute. When he gets home from work, he's like, did you have any good art moments today? And we talk about how just having even like a couple moments that you remember in your day of something you enjoyed doing. So we call them art moments. And it's very rare that I'm like, oh, I didn't have any art moments. Maybe, you know, a few years ago I wouldn't have many, but now I have so many art moments. Just doing this video with you all is a beautiful moment in my day and very therapeutic. So I am gonna leave this to dry, and then I'm gonna go back and do line work and polka dots and just really play it up with maybe some more metallics. And so we kind of made a mess with these chunky rainbows, but I am just getting so much joy looking at this and looking at how much the page has to offer me to explore when I come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. I really like the little collage pieces, so using up pieces of paper that may have otherwise been tossed out. Just again, finding a new way to revamp work. And these are not perfect rainbows, but they are very beautiful to me. And again, it was the process. So I'll just set this aside, and I think I'll probably just gonna see. Oh, I just wanted to share a book. So artists inspire artists, right? And I really, really love Helen Wells. And she recently, in one of her emails, had pulled out, or sorry, in one of her emails, she linked her YouTube video, and she did just a really quick snapshot of this art book by Angie Lewin, Plants and Places. And I just saw her flip a few pages and I'm like, oh, that is so inspiring. I love Angie's art. And so I won't read too much of this, but Angie Lewin is renowned for her distinctive vision of the natural world, plants and places. And she does a lot of prints, collages, textile drawings, paintings from her sketchbooks. I really like how she uses transparency. So looking at the yellow and how almost like that pattern that looks like a birch tree is coming through these circular yellow patterns. Everything about this book is really inspiring. And it's not that I would like want to just jump out and buy her work, but there's something about her work that is so authentic to her, and it makes me as an artist really want to emulate that in my own style and be more open to exploration. So there's Angie there. And so it talks about her inspiration. What I had seen is her carving out these blocks for printmaking, and I always think of carving a stamp like a smaller work, but she just carves this gorgeous, basically like this really large inspirational artwork right on the block. And these are colors that I wouldn't use in my work, but I almost feel like I would want to explore certain colors that she uses and just see how I do enjoy them in my work. So here's a little palette that she had put beside this piece, and I think it would be cool to take this palette and say paint one of my art poetry styles, so my own style, but maybe borrowing her palette. And so this is just, when I had seen Helen Wells flip through here, I just thought, oh, this is such a great book that I would, you know, want to have as a keepsake and just go back to it throughout my art career and look at new ways to infuse energy into my art through her pages. I mean, isn't her style just so authentic? I really like these rough drawings. And just her unique, the way she brings pattern into her pieces from plants and places that are meaningful to her. So, you know, thinking about your surroundings, where you live, where you come from, how can you pull in, you know, colors or plants, flowers, things that you see, you know, maybe regularly that have meaning to you. Maybe you've grown up with, and, you know, being in an area that has certain wildflowers, and finding your own way to kind of reproduce the beauty, the energy, the colors in your own way into your own art. I like this composition. This is really neat. It's like being in this field and having all of these gorgeous plants, flowers, kind of, you know, even weeds blowing around you. She talks a little bit about riverbanks and that inspiration. And right now I'm feeling like I see the sun coming out here, so I'm doing an early morning video today, and it makes me want to go outside and just enjoy the beginnings of spring here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, because we've had such a long winter. And I have to push myself to get outside because I love painting, creating. I could just be in my art studio for hours, so it's just good to get, you know, the benefits of the fresh air and the sun, and again, revisiting some of the works that maybe you just spent 10 minutes on or 20 minutes. And then, you know, getting some fresh air, going outdoors, and then getting re-inspired and having a new look at what you were working on. I have such a laugh because someone will be, oh, you know, how was your day? What were you doing? And I'll be like, I don't know where the day went. Like, it just flew by. And, you know, I think of it, oh, you know, my husband's like, did you have any art moments? I'll be like, I only had like maybe half an hour. But then if I look back at the day or what I created in the time, if I truly took note of the time I was in my studio, it would be like hours. But it's true what they say about when you're having fun, time flies, because I would think that I'm in my studio for like half an hour and it would be like 6 hours. And that's why I usually set a timer. But today, I just did not want to have any time pressure on myself. I find this really cool. It's almost like moths kind of coming up on a branch. Oh, and I think it's my battery low. I'm gonna sign off now. I don't want to lose you guys. I think I need to plug you in. My phone has gone dim and that's just my cue. So I will reference this book in my video. I hope you got some inspiration through rainbows and textured art, and I will see you all soon. Thanks for joining me.